Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. This is the 30th video in the Learning and Evolving from Past Practitioner series, a video series that aims to introduce important historical figures in the internal self of martial art and Shudao practice. Last week, I posted a video introducing Jiang Rongqiao, a great Xing and Bagua practitioner in history. Additionally, I received some good questions. Therefore, this week's video will be a follow-up to last week's episode. So let me answer a few questions asked by our community members. Outerlast asks, quote, that clip of his adopted daughter is pretty wholesome. One question about Jiang's style. If his Bagua is based on Zhang Zhaodong's Xing Bagua, how about his Xing? End quote. Thank you, Outerlast. Jiang Rongqiao also learned Xing from Zhang Zhaodong. Comparing the time he spent studying Xing and Bagua under Zhang Zhaodong, he devoted more effort to Xing. In total, he studied with Zhang Zhaodong for about 20 years. However, it's important to clarify that this was not a regular and continued study over 20 years. Because Jiang Rongqiao already had a strong martial arts foundation and background, he only studied occasionally with Zhang Zhaodong. His learning was intermittent over that 20 years period. This is something that must be understood. For Jiang Rongqiao, his study was more at an advanced level, and thanks to his solid education and training background, he was able to grasp Zhang Zhaodong's technique system in a relatively short time. While in Tianjin, Jiang Rongqiao also learned from other teachers. For instance, he consulted Li Cunyi many times. However, since he frequently participated in martial arts events together with Zhang Zhaodong, he gradually became known as Zhang's disciple. Therefore, in terms of technical style, his Xing bears Li Cunyi's influence greatly as well. Those of us in Tianjin's Xing community are all aware of this. I hope my answer is helpful to you. Next, the Baron asks, quote, is it known what made him blind? End quote. Thank you, the Baron. The problem of his blindness was caused by a retinal detachment, a condition that lasted for many years and gradually worsened. After a long period of deterioration, he became completely blind in his later years. However, even so, he continued to work in the field of martial arts. In particular, thanks to his excellent memory, he often shared martial arts history and training experiences with his students through oral instruction. At that time, even after his eyesight had become very poor, he still took part in martial arts events. For example, during demonstrations, he needed to be guided by his student to the demonstration area. When the demonstration ended, he would remain standing in place, waiting for his students to help him leave, since he could no longer clearly see his surroundings. Yet, despite this, whenever he demonstrated, he was full of vigor and energy. No one could tell that he was suffering from an eye disease. This is truly something worthy of our respect and admiration. Because he lost his vision gradually over many years, he had time to adapt. As a result, he was able to perform martial arts even after becoming blind, which is truly praiseworthy. I hope my answer helps. Next, Tylercole says, quote, Sha Guozheng is doing what we recognize as Jiang's original form, end quote. Thank you, Tylercole. As for Sha Guozheng's Bagua, he made his own innovations to it. it can be said that the vast majority of Jiang Rongqiao's disciples introduced changes based on Jiang's Bagua. Among them, Sha Guozheng was the one who made the most extensive innovations. This, in itself, is not a bad thing. However, if one does not understand this and mistakes the modified method for the so-called original ones, that would be incorrect. Now, let me show you Sha Guozheng's lion form palm from his own reformed version of Bagua. This was developed by him on the foundation of Jiang Rongqiao's teachings, but it is not Jiang's original method. I have confirmed this information by consulting Jiang Rongqiao's surviving disciples. I hope my answer helps. Next, BlackBamba-YelloBamba says, quote, "This form is also taught in the Wang Shujin system as taught by the disciple Wang Fulai. It's the fourth or fifth form in the Bagua curriculum. To the best of my knowledge, Wang Shujin studied with Zhang Zhaodong so that the possible connection to Jiang Rongqiao." End quote. Thank you for this question. Regarding Wang Shujin, many people were informed that he studied under Zhang Zhaodong. In fact, this is incorrect. He actually studied under Zhang Junfeng. In Tianjin, Zhang Junfeng learned Xing from Li Cunyi and Zhang Zhaodong, also Bagua from Gao Yisheng. Although both of them went from Tianjin to Taiwan around 1949 when the Communist Party took over China, only Zhang Junfeng had studied Xing and Bagua. Wang Shujin learned from Zhang Junfeng while in Taiwan. There are still people alive today who studied under Zhang Junfeng, and they are well aware of this history. I will explain these details more fully when the opportunity presents itself in the future. Moreover, as you mentioned, the palm techniques of Jiang Rongqiao, for example, the fourth or fifth palms, were largely created by Jiang Rongqiao himself, not part of Zhang Zhaodong's system. Jiang's palm method took shape during the 1950s and the 1960s, while Wang Shujin had already gone to Taiwan in 1949. As for how Wang Shujin's students, Wang Fulai, could have turned Jiang Rongqiao's palm method into Wang Shujin's palm, that is something only he himself could clarify. I do not know him personally, but if anyone has his contact information, I would be glad to ask him directly. It's time to set the record straight. I hope my answer is helpful to you. An anonymous member asks, quote, "Jiang Rongqiao created the 100-form routine or 百行拳. Could you please introduce it?" End quote. This routine was created by Jiang Rongqiao in his later years. Initially, he wanted to collect the movements inspired by animals outside of traditional Xing as the base for his creation. Later on, however, he mainly drew from the 12 animal forms of Xing and incorporated some elements from Xue Dian's training methods that were popular in Tianjin at the time, such as the lion form and the elephant form, to enrich the original 12-animal system of Xing. This routine consists of 10 smaller sets, each containing very rich content. I have seen a friend demonstrate it, and it is indeed excellent. Overall, Jiang Rongqiao was a very accomplished martial artist. He lived through the late Qing dynasty and the Republican period, and even after the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, he continued to uphold the traditional arts while also promoting and refining them, something truly admirable and rare. However, his martial art method, especially his Xing, lacked distinctive characteristics and therefore did not develop into a unique style of his own. On the other hand, his later creation, the Bagua system he developed, known as the New 8 Palms or Xinbazhang, represented a modernization, refinement, and reorganization of traditional Bagua in a modern area. Thanks to the continued effort of his disciples, this system has been preserved and passed down to the present day, which stands as the significant part of his legacy. So, that was all for today. I hope this follow-up video will clarify some misunderstandings, help practitioners understand Jiang Rongqiao and his practice better. That brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you all found today's topic interesting and informative. Please post any further questions about Jiang Rongqiao, his practice and lineage in the comment section. I will answer them for you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. See you next time and enjoy your practice.